Watch out, Subaru, because I've been in this Toyota 4Runner all week, and boy oh boy do the Home Depot women love it. Hey there, I'm Al Alder, and this is the 2024 Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro. This 4Runner is pretty much exactly the same as every other 4Runner for the last 15 years. Now, in what we assume is its last year of its 5th generation, I want to look back on what makes this thing great and what we might miss going forward. So, the Toyota 4Runner has been with us for about 40 years now, and despite its relatively slow pace, it has actually evolved quite a bit from its early spirit. Originally just a Hilux with a hard cap on the back, this thing has grown into a full-on mid-size SUV. This one is only equipped with 2 rows, but you can even have these things as a 3-row 7-seater. This is a big truck, and it still drives like one too. See, where most things have gone unibody, this 4Runner is still body-on-frame. It's a solid traditional configuration. It's perhaps not quite so objectively rigid as is now possible with unibody structures, like in the Land Rover Defender and others. But this thing has held its own for good reason. Toyota has made great use of its structure. Just like in the Toyota Tacoma, the 4Runner is able to package all its vulnerable driveline bits right up there between the frame rails. It's really well shielded, and as a result, this TRD Pro really only ends up adding a skid plate to the very nose. This does, as in the Taco, carry with it a few compromises. The floor is higher than we're used to in many SUVs, and as a result, the seating position can feel a little unfamiliar, a little too squat, especially for some taller drivers. Again, like the Tacoma though, and especially with this off-road ready suspension, that affords some really strong approach, breakover, and departure angles. And that Taco continuity really does carry farther forward too, because it's really quite amazing just how much the 4Runner feels like a taller, longer Tacoma. Trundling along this unimproved route that we use for a lot of our off-road reviews here on Driving, this thing just feels like the Taco. It wanders the same, it steers much the same, and it even powers and sounds much the same. That power too is pretty old-fashioned, but we like it for its solidity. The 4-liter V6 in this thing is just a simple old naturally aspirated unit. It's renowned for its above-average reliability. These things just go on forever, and that's not something that we're often comfortable actually saying in a new vehicle review. Unlike the Tacoma, here it's actually made it to a 5-speed automatic transmission, and it feels a little bit old. It just sort of trundles along, but it does the job respectably. Also kind of old, but honestly rather endearing, is the noise that you get out of this powertrain. This is a windy, gusty engine. You start it up, you hear the cooling fan roar to life. This is not a subtle vehicle. This may be up to a 3-row SUV, but it's still pretty fun. With that being said, you're certainly not getting wild performance out of the 4-liter in this 4Runner. Power, 270 horse, 278 pound-feet of torque. That's really not much. On top of that as well, being naturally aspirated, that torque really doesn't actually arrive until about 4,500 RPM. That's pretty late, and it means that you've actually really got to run this thing up, rev it out. But with the noise, that's kind of fun. What isn't so fun though is the fuel consumption. This is a thirsty fella, oh my goodness, especially in this year of our Lord. Rated NRCan reported economy here in the 4Runner, you're looking at 14.9 liters per 100 kilometers city rated. Go on the highway, that's still 12.6 kilometers per 100, and combined a figure of 13.8. Really though, in my testing this week, I've been running something more in the 16s. This is not a thrifty rig, but thanks to that stellar reliability record, that powertrain really has earned its place and really arguably justifies the thirst. After 15 years on the market though, I must acknowledge that not all of those dated characteristics are quite so charming. This TRD Pro equips a trail view with a 360-degree camera. It works, but it sort of feels like you're watching mid-2000s CCTV footage. It's not exactly a great display. In line with that too, we've been complaining for years about this generation infotainment. It's never felt great, and it's just felt worse as the years go by. And with the introduction of Toyota's latest industry-leading system, it just feels an eternity behind. This 8-inch screen displays an almost laughable UI. Fortunately, you do get the option of mobile phone projection, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto. It is a wired connection through the older rectangular USB-A plug, but it does the job. Mercifully as well, this actually still uses all hard controls for its climate control and other key cabin features. That is really nice because we've gotten really tired of digitizing absolutely everything. You know, viewers, I really gotta be honest. You guys generally see a pretty tight, tidy package by the time these videos come out, but that is thanks to our editors who clip out all of the little goofs, whether those be the bad words or simply me calling this a Tacoma every other sentence. Oh my gosh, but it's just so familiar, and that is such a strength. So then, as I go through this off-roady stuff, which actually reminds me of the Tacoma, what is it that makes me think of it so much? Well, it's partly the nature of the body motions. It's actually sprung similarly, and here in the TRD Pro, you've also got those Fox shocks. Like in the outgoing Tacoma, we've still got hydraulic power steering with a really long, slow, deliberate ratio. You can be very precise with the inputs you give this thing. It actually levels that gradual character up as well because we have a whole bunch more controls. Of course, there's the usual transfer case lever here. It's still a nice hard lever going straight into the transfer case. That means that when I rev this out, I do actually feel it through the handle. That's wonderful. We love solid controls. None of that electric nonsense like I had in the Silverado AEV, which wouldn't actually let me engage the lockers when I needed them and other such problems. Speaking of lockers, this thing does only have one out at the back. It does the job, but it would be nice to have both. So it goes. And as it is, that really does sort of highlight one of the disappointments with the TRD Pro pack, which is that it's a some $15,000 upgrade, which on paper is listed with a bunch of features such as that CarPlay that are just included anyway. They've tried to justify it, but you're really just getting those upgraded shocks, although the regular TRD off-road shocks are fine, and then of course all the aesthetic bits. Is it cool? Yes, and were money no object, I would totally just go TRD Pro. But if I were actually spending sensibly, I would save the roughly $11,000 and just get the TRD off-road. It will do plenty of what you need it to. It gets all the off-road controls up here on the top, and it leaves some money left over for all of that fuel consumption. And for my new Home Depot friends, dog food. For Driving.ca, I'm Al Alder. For more off-road reviews, news, specs, tests, and all the rest, be sure to follow us online on Driving.ca and check out our socials over on Instagram and the other one.